Hi guys, hope you are all doing well. Obviously, I am acutely aware that your first language English paper one is tomorrow, so you're not going to see me on the screen. There's no silly memes, you'll be glad to know, but I just wanted to upload this video as quickly as possible. I spent a good few hours creating it, and ultimately what it runs through is each text type, the typical features you could include, not an exhaustive list, and some sort of model responses for each of the 6 or 7 prescribed text types. Of course, with all of these text types, it really depends on the question. It really depends on the audience and purpose. So just make sure that you read the question carefully tomorrow. We're talking about question 3, the extended writing response, and you identify the audience, you identify the purpose, because that will ascertain the type of style, the voice, the language that you need to use. With all that said and done, let's try and whiz through this as quickly as possible so I can upload it. So the prescribed text types that you should know the typical features of. So speech, letter, both informal and informal, they're pretty common. They come up a lot. Magazine article seems to be cropping up a lot. Journal, newspaper report, formal report, and interview. Newspaper report, or the reports, are most definitely the most challenging. So please do pay attention to the slides when I look at some models that I've written and the typical features of each of those text types. So a good acronym to remember, again, not an exhaustive list. There are other techniques, other language and persuasive techniques that you could shoehorn into your question 3 responses, but I use the acronym Right Forest just to quickly whiz through these. Alliteration, repetition, imperative, personal pronouns, emotive language, facts, opinions, rhetorical questions, exaggeration, also known as hyperbole, statistics, and triplets. If you don't know any of these, you can easily research them online, or I think I've got a video hidden somewhere in the dark depths of my YouTube channel breaking down each technique with example sentences. Just have a search on my channel. Okay, so speech. These are some features you could include. Just to echo what I said before, it really depends on the audience and purpose, but some really powerful techniques to consider, if appropriate, are anecdotes, so personal stories, kind of humanizes you, I guess, as a speaker. Imperatives, so those bossy verbs, commands, rhetorical questions, collective pronouns, so rather than saying I, we, us, our, and repetition. So let's read some example sentences. Anecdote. I vividly remember one particular evening during my college years. So again, it humanizes you, it creates a relationship with the audience. Imperative. Imagine a world where, and it's good to start with an imperative if it's suitable for the task. Rhetorical questions. Do we believe in a future where? Collective pronouns. We all know that. Not I, we together, we know that. And repetition. It's abhorrent. It's so abhorrent that adjective abhorrent is repeated there for emphasis. Now here's an example of a main body paragraph for a speech. It's all about homework. I'm sure you can relate to this. I have color-coded some of the techniques I've previously spoken about as well. Let's take a read. Imagine this. It's late at night and you're struggling to keep your eyes open while staring at a mountain of homework. Sound familiar? We've all been there, drowning in assignments and deadlines. But let me ask you this. Is homework truly enhancing our learning experience, or is it simply adding unnecessary stress to our lives? It's time to rethink the role of homework in our education system. We, as students, deserve better. We deserve to spend our time engaging in meaningful learning experiences, not just completing mindless tasks. So let's demand change. Let's demand a homework system that prioritizes quality over quantity. Let's demand a system that respects our time and well-being. It's time to reimagine homework for the betterment of our education and our future. So a really strong voice coming through, lots of passion coming from the speaker there. So some of the techniques, we've got that opening anecdote. It's really good, again, if appropriate for the task, to start with an anecdote. So it's late at night and you're struggling to keep your eyes open while staring at a mountain of homework, we've got that imperative. Imagine this. We've got that rhetorical question. Is homework truly enhancing our learning experience? We've got collective pronouns throughout, we, us, our, and we've got repetition there. Let's demand change. Let's demand a homework system. So that word demand is repeated for emphasis. Now let's look at some typical features you could shoehorn into an informal letter task. Idioms, phrasal verbs, exaggeration, emotive language, and rhetorical questions. If you are going to use idioms, just FYI, no one says we're raining cats and dogs. No one says it. So maybe look up some commonly used idioms. So idioms, I'm glad we're on the same page. Phrasal verbs, so a verb and a preposition and the meaning changes. Native speakers use them all the time. We need to catch up. It's been too long. Exaggeration, I almost died when I heard that. Emotive language, it filled me with an inescapable feeling of dread. Emotive language, those words, inescapable, dread. Rhetorical questions, who would have thought it would have ended this way? So let's take a read of a model. I hope you're all hanging in there amidst all the chaos of exam prep. I know studying for first language English can feel like trying to juggle a dozen flaming torches whilst riding a unicycle on a tightrope. It's crazy, right? But hey, think about the payoff. Imagine the sheer elation of smashing that exam out of the park and leaving it in the dust. Sure, it's a roller coaster of emotions, frustration, doubt, and maybe even a touch of panic. But remember why you started this journey in the first place. This isn't just about passing a test. It's about unlocking doors to a world of possibilities. So when you're knee deep in phrasal verbs and idioms, take a deep breath, muster up that inner strength and keep pushing forward. You've got this. And if you're watching this, guys, and you've got your exam tomorrow, you definitely do have this. So, idioms, we've got that idiom knee deep, phrasal verbs. Oh, I've not highlighted my phrasal verb. Quick scan, hanging in there, hanging in, hang in. I can't speak, it's late. Phrasal verb, hang in. Exaggeration, trying to juggle a dozen flaming torches whilst riding a unicycle on a tightrope. Arguably a bit of humour as well, I try. Emotive language, sheer elation. And rhetorical question there. It's crazy, right? With an informal letter, make it personal, if appropriate, inject some humour, some personality into your writing. That's really quite important. So with formal letters, obviously your register, the language techniques that you use, the structural techniques, sentences, etc. are going to be very, very different. Let's look at some features you could include. So of course, discourse markers, a more ambitious, wide vocabulary, complex sentences, range of punctuation, and a suitable opening and closing. FYI, dear sir and madam, so if we don't know the name, we use yours faithfully, typically, and if we do know the name, we use yours sincerely. So discourse marker. Moreover, I was particularly displeased over ambitious vocabulary. It only exacerbated the problem, that verb made worse. Complex sentences. So despite my warnings, the dependent clause there followed by an independent clause, he still proceeded to. Range of punctuation, because we all know Cambridge and English teachers adore students who can use semicolons correctly. It was terrifying. I did not know what to do. And of course, as mentioned, you need a suitable opening and a closing. Let's take a read of a formal letter. Just take note of the style and how significantly different it is to the informal letter. I am writing to express my dissatisfaction regarding the recent service provided by your company. Despite being a loyal customer for several years, I am deeply disappointed by the lack of attention to detail and professionalism exhibited in our recent interactions. To elaborate, during my most recent visit to your establishment, I encountered multiple issues that have left me feeling frustrated and undervalued as a customer. Firstly, the delay in processing my order was unacceptable, resulting in a considerable waste of my valuable time. Additionally, the substandard quality of the product I received did not meet the high standards I have come to expect from your brand. I am left incredibly disappointed. Furthermore, the dismissive attitude displayed by your staff when addressing my concerns only exacerbated that verb again, my dissatisfaction. As a company renowned for its commitment to excellence, I had anticipated a more efficient and courteous resolution to these issues. Regrettably, this experience has tarnished my perception of your brand and raised doubts about the level of customer care provided. So discourse markers throughout, firstly, secondly, furthermore, additionally, etc. Ambitious vocabulary, we've got that verb tarnished. Complex sentences throughout, so despite being a loyal customer for several years, I'm deeply disappointed. Range of punctuation, we've got a semicolon in there. And of course, you would need a suitable opening and closing. Just to make something clear, which I certainly don't want to confuse you, with informal letters, it wouldn't be appropriate to put dear sir or madam. So for formal letters, it would, if you aren't given the information of the recipient. So just bear that in mind. Informal letter, dear John, hope you're doing well. Closing, let's catch up soon, hope to hear from you, etc., etc. Magazine article, my favourite one to write because it's very much like a speech. Okay, let's look at some of the features. So you could include, well, not could this time. These are some structural choices. You need a catchy title, subheadings to divide your 3 paragraphs, rhetorical questions, maybe exaggeration and humour. Again, it depends on the task, and usually they are written in third person. So catchy title, Trailblazing Triumph, Troy the Trekking Pro, a bit of alliteration there. Suitable subheadings, Off the Beaten Path, Troy's favourite hidden gems revealed. To formulate your subheadings, a really sort of easy thing to do is just to obviously reword the bullets, but turn them into rhetorical questions. And that's quite an easy way to create an effective subheading. Rhetorical questions. Who could deny his immeasurable talent? Exaggeration. Don't you dare turn this page or face a fate worse than a sunburned snowman, because no one likes a sunburned snowman, because then there's nothing there. Anyway, third person, he, she, it, they. Hopefully we know the difference between first, second and third person. I hope so. If not, put down in the comments that you don't know the difference, and I will quite happily explain the difference in detail. So looking at this model response, obviously it looks different on the page. We've got a catchy title. If you've got time, maybe a little opening to establish a sense of audience and purpose to create a convincing voice. And then you'd go on to your first paragraph. So let's take a read. The catchy title is Breaking Boundaries, the Power of Stepping Outside of Your Comfort Zone. Embracing the unfamiliar. In a world where comfort often reigns supreme, there's something exhilarating about venturing beyond the familiar confines of our comfort zone. But why do so many of us hesitate to take that leap? Could it be the fear of the unknown, or perhaps a reluctance to confront our own limitations? Excuse me. The fear factor. What's holding you back? Picture this. See what I mean? It's very, very similar to a speech. Picture this, you're standing at the edge of a cliff, metaphorically speaking, of course. A little bit of humour there. The wind is whipping through your hair, your heart is pounding like a jackhammer, and your palms are clammy with nerves. Sound familiar? It's a classic scenario of facing the unknown, and it's enough to send even the bravest souls running for cover. But what if, just for a moment, you dared to defy that fear? What if you took a chance on yourself and discovered the incredible possibilities that lie just beyond your comfort zone? So again, depending on the purpose and audience, try and make your magazine articles catchy. You need to inject them with life. So we've got the catchy title at the top in orange, the subheadings in red. We've got rhetorical questions throughout. Could it be the fear of the unknown? We've got exaggeration / humour. Your heart is pounding like a jackhammer. And of course, it is written in third person. Okay, journal writing, another favourite of mine, because you can break lots of rules to some degree. FYI, please, if you get a journal tomorrow, and I'm begging you from the bottom of my heart, do not start with Dear Diary or Dear Journal. There are other ways to show an awareness of text type and purpose and what have you without saying Dear Diary. Just don't do it. English teachers hate it. I'm sure Cambridge markers hate it as well. Anyway, journal writing, some typical features you could include. Of course, it's going to be full of emotive language, lots of thoughts and feelings, adjectives, abstract nouns, etc. Repetition, maybe, hyperphora, fancy word there, exaggeration, and maybe humour if it's appropriate. So emotive language, I felt an inescapable sinking feeling. Repetition, it was hilarious, utterly hilarious. Hyperphora is a rhetorical question. You answer it immediately, so quite similar to a rhetorical question. Where do I find solace in the chaos of everyday life? In the quiet moments before dawn. That is definitely me before school, before the sun even rises. Exaggeration, I've been so stressed I could sleep for days. And humour. I know humour is subjective, guys, but just imagine who's going to be marking your exam paper. It was like having to listen to Justin Bieber on repeat, because everyone hates Justin Bieber, right? Maybe just me. So let's read a model response. So this is all about being late for school. Today started with the usual chaos of trying to get out the door on time for school, but let me tell you, it was like the universe had conspired against me. I mean, seriously, why does every traffic light turn red the moment I approach it? Why does it feel like time slows down just to mock me when I'm running late? It baffles me completely. And don't get me started on the bus driver who decides to take the scenic route through the entire city just for kicks. So here's the burning question. Why is it that on the days when I'm running late, the universe decides to throw every obstacle in my path? It's like a cosmic game of hide and seek, and I'm the one left scrambling to catch up. But hey, at least I have a funny story to tell about my epic race against time. So really personal, lots of personality injected into your writing if you get a journal tomorrow, depending on the task. So emotive language, we've got usual chaos, we've got lots of emotive language throughout the whole piece. Repetition, why does. We've got hyperphora, why does it feel like time slows down just to mock me when I'm running late? It baffles me, so we're answering it immediately. Exaggeration, it was like the universe had conspired against me. And humour, it's like a cosmic game of hide and seek. So 3 more to go. We've got the reports coming up next. Newspaper reports, certainly challenging for a lot of students. It's a style which is quite alien to most students because not a lot of students read newspapers or read news websites. Some do, obviously. I'm not saying that all of you watching this, you don't keep up to date with the news, but for a lot of students that I've taught over the years, and I've been teaching for 10 plus years, this style can be quite challenging. Using the passive voice is not something that we are accustomed to doing, myself included. There's only certain things that we use the passive voice for, because generally we write using the active voice. Features, catchy title, the 4 W's, third person, of course. I've called it journalistic phrasing, and relative clauses are all important features which can be found in newspaper reports. So catchy title, man found locked in cupboard. Don't waste too much time thinking of a title. A declarative, a statement, a shocking statement, if appropriate, is more than enough. The 4 W's, of course, pertains to the who, what, where, when, and why. Sometimes why. Usually that comes later as well. Third person, he, she, it, they. So you're not using that first person pronoun I. Journalistic phrasing. If you read newspaper reports, and this is so they don't get into trouble if they don't have all the evidence that they need to make sort of statements, if you like. It is believed, it is known, it is claimed, etc. Otherwise, they can get into trouble if they're wrong. Relative clauses. So the suspect, 35, who was apprehended by the police, is now in custody. So using commas to provide additional information for the reader. So let's take a read. Teacher locked in cupboard sparks school controversy. In a bizarre incident at Broadway High School, FYI, my old high school, it no longer exists. It was knocked down for reasons I will not go into. Yesterday, a teacher found herself trapped in a cupboard for over 2 hours, causing uproar amongst staff, parents and students alike. The incident unfolded during a routine classroom clean-up where Mrs. Johnson, a veteran educator with over 20 years' experience, was tidying up supplies in her classroom. It is believed that the door to the cupboard swung shut, leaving her stranded in darkness. Witnesses reported hearing muffled cries for help emanating from the classroom, prompting a swift response from school authorities. Firefighters were called to the scene to assist in freeing Mrs. Johnson from her unexpected confinement. Thankfully, after a tense ordeal, she was rescued unharmed, albeit visibly shaken by the ordeal. As investigations into the incident commence, questions arise about the safety protocols in place within the school premises and the circumstances leading to Mrs. Johnson's entrapment. That kind of last sentence where it looks at the future and what's going to happen next would come last. This is a very condensed newspaper report. Newspaper reports are slightly different to the other text types in that I guess there would be an expectation to have smaller paragraphs. Remember, you start with the most important information first to the least important information at the bottom. We've got the catchy title there in orange. We've got the 4 W's. Broadway High School. She was trapped in the cupboard. Who? Mrs. Johnson. And we've got yesterday for when. Of course, it's written in third person. We've got journalistic phrasing. It is believed. And we've got relative clauses throughout the piece as well. Mrs. Johnson, a veteran educator with over 20 years experience, was tidying up supplies in her classroom. If you do get a newspaper report tomorrow, of course, you would be expected to include interviews. So just research direct speech and reported speech and try and shoehorn them into your newspaper report somewhere. If you do get a newspaper report tomorrow, fingers crossed you don't. So formal report, another difficult piece of writing, again requires quite a sophisticated, finessed writing style to pull off successfully. Structural choices are really quite important. A title is needed. If you've got time, a little overview to establish what the report is going to look at and its findings. Generally, it looks at the problems and then it provides solutions and then it gives you a conclusion of sorts, and discourse markers are used throughout as well. Now, this was part of a response I started doing about last month. It's an actual question 3 when the formal report came up. You might recognize it. If you want a really good video on formal report writing, Tortley, her YouTube channel is amazing. She actually went through this paper, so she saved me the hassle of doing it because formal reports are really difficult. But I'll just read the beginning of this formal report so you get a sense of the style and voice, etc., and how it's laid out. So relevant title there, Optimizing Airport Assistance, a comprehensive analysis of the meet and greet services at Golden Tours. We've got a little overview. This report examines the vital role of meet and greet staff at Golden Tours. It covers the current duties, identifies potential challenges for both staff and passengers, and suggests practical strategies for improving overall experiences. So this information will come from the bullet points. This report seeks to offer actionable insights to enhance the efficiency and satisfaction of the services we offer. So really clear, really sort of factual, no flowery descriptive language. First bullet point, so rules, meeting and greeting passengers. This is part of the paragraph, by the way. It is imperative that Golden Tour staff, let me try that again. It is imperative for Golden Tour staff to arrive well in advance of the first passengers ready and waiting at the check-in desk. Good customer service begins the moment the first guests step through the doors. Furthermore, it is crucial to thoroughly check all documentation, as this will streamline the check-in process and prevent any potential issues or delays that could lead to customer dissatisfaction. Staff members should remain attentive and available, addressing any inquiries and offering assistance to alleviate concerns, thereby ensuring that customers can travel with peace of mind. Okay, so we've got the title, the overview. If it was a full thing, it would highlight some problems. It would offer solutions and end with a conclusion. And of course, discourse markers need to be peppered throughout. So quite a difficult one, but as with all the text type, practice makes perfect and finesse will come in time. The last text type, interview, which I feel like interview an interview task has not come up in quite a long time. I think it's relatively quite straightforward. However, you do need to understand the character quite well, because you are ultimately being asked to assume the role of a character, as you are with other text types, but interview more so. So you need to be, you really need to consider your language choices and, the techniques that you use to create a convincing, authentic voice, which is sustained from beginning to end. So with the interview task, you get 3 questions. You can copy out the questions to keep you nice and focused, but ultimately you are marked on the responses. So 3 paragraphs. No need to do a little introduction with this text type. So first person, I didn't know what I was doing. Emotive language, it was a feeling of strong elation. I can't quite describe it in words. Rhetorical questions, who would have thought I'd be sitting here today? Humor, it was disastrous, akin to enduring the agony of stepping on Lego bricks, because nobody likes that. Exaggeration, it was like I had died and gone to heaven. Now, let's take a read of an interview response. Let's just imagine the question is about your favourite holiday destination. Oh, let me tell you about my absolute favourite holiday destination. Picture this: palm trees swaying in the gentle breeze, crystal clear turquoise water stretching as far as the eye can see, and the sun painted the sky in hues of orange and pink. Can you feel the warm sand between your toes already? Because I sure can. It's like stepping into a postcard every time I visit Thailand. And let's not forget the food. I'm pretty sure I've gained an entire suitcase's worth of souvenirs in the form of delicious local delicacies. But hey, a little extra padding never hurt anyone, right? I tell myself that every day. So, if you're ever in need of a slice of paradise, you know where to find me, lounging on the beach, mocktail in hand, living my best life. So, of course, it's going to be first person, lots of thoughts and feelings. Again, adjective, abstract nouns. We've got emotive language there, crystal clear, turquoise waters. It just sort of momentarily transports us to Thailand. Well, not me, because I'm here already, but hopefully you guys, if you're not in Thailand. Rhetorical questions. Can you feel the warm sand between your toes already? Humour. I'm pretty sure I've gained an entire suitcase's worth of souvenirs in the form of delicious local delicacies, followed by it's okay to have a little extra padding. And exaggeration, it's like stepping into a postcard every time I visit Thailand. So there you have it, guys, a whistle-stop tour looking at all the prescribed text types, the models, and some features you could include for each of the text types. I hope it's been helpful. It's currently 8:33 in the evening here. I'm ready for bed. Have an early night, maybe get up early, do a little bit of last-minute studying, and I'm keeping everything crossed for you guys. Best of luck, and do let me know how your exam goes tomorrow. Until next time, bye.